Hi, I'm Rick Dior. So those are a few samples I used during a recent show. Some sound effects. We had a jet engine, we had a thunderstorm, we had a witch laugh. Oh, and I don't know if I played this one.
Okay!
They wanted a Pee Wee Herman thing, so I added that. And some small applause. So over the years, as I've said in the previous videos in this series, I've sampled all kinds of stuff. And then whenever I do a show, they need more things. I have lots and lots of CDs full of sound effects, and basically I just sample them into the pad. It's very easy. We'll do a separate video on sampling from a CD, but we'll do the complicated stuff in this video. That's sampling with a microphone into a preamp into the SPD-SX Pro, which is what this video is about. So there's lots of ins and outs. I would definitely suggest watching the first video I did in this sampling series where I showed you the equipment I was using. Very quickly, I'm using a hypercardioid microphone, a Schoeps CNC6, and I'm using a little baffle behind that you can see here. I got this camera in back of me. I'm using, obviously, the SPD-SX Pro Roland Pad. It's the latest one. And I'm using my computer interface, which has the software, which is very, very useful for that. All right, and what I do is I have a separate patch that I just switched to, you see on the screenshot here, called sampling. And whenever I do a new sampling project, I use this particular patch to check my samples, and then I'll erase them from the patch and just do new ones. It's very, very easy to do with this software here. Much, much more difficult in the previous versions when you did not have the software. You just were doing it with the tiny little screen, and even though the screen is a big step up from the previous models, it still was a chore. All right, now, like I've said throughout the series, this machine is extremely complicated, not to use on a basic level. It's actually very intuitive, but once you dive in, there's so much stuff. It's extremely deep. They continually update the software, so there's new things being added and fixed and all that. So if you're going to use it as a professional and not just a hobbyist, in other words, if you're going to hire yourself out to do programming and, you know, in a show, have samples and be able to do it on the fly, and someone says, I need this at a different pitch, Bardo, you need to do it really quickly. You can't be searching around in the manual and doing all that. So I spend a lot of time looking at the manual. Those are all online. I'll do a little video on that if I haven't posted that already, how to download those. They're very good. Several different manuals for this thing. There's a starter manual, and then there's the giant 200-page, regular manual for it. So today we're going to sample some things. Like I said in the last sampling video, the first one, I've chosen some tambourines, some very valuable and older La Fimas. I got 3 of these and an old hanger that I want to sample. Now, some of my previous samples were done with older equipment that was a little noisier. I'm going to put this down so it doesn't make noise. You know, sort of like 60 cycle hum and things like that. This machine is much quieter, but you need to use an external preamp and a really good microphone to get the full advantage of it. So that's what I'd recommend. Don't just think you're going to plug in a dynamic mic to the back of this thing, 1/4 inch, and it's going to sound great. It could sound good for maybe live performance, but not for selling your samples and not for recording, for people's recordings, which I use these for a lot. All right, so we'll get started here. The first thing you want to do, as I said in the last video, is you want to, on the machine itself, hit Menu and scroll to Sampling. Hopefully you can see this with the camera in back of me. I'm not going to be holding the camera like last time because I need both my hands for this video. And then once you get to Sampling, you'll hit Enter. And there you'll find recording or recorded source. I put that on input. Trigger level, you want to put that, if you're using a good mic, put it at around 7. Otherwise, if you breathe or anything, if you put it at 1, anything will set that thing off and start it. Okay? And then you're going to put it on mono. I would suggest if you're using one mic, there's no sense in putting it on stereo. And then the recording level I set at about plus 15 dBs, which is decibels, because again, I'm using this preamp. You can experiment with that as much as you need to, but that's what I've found my levels, that's where they need to be at. Okay, so once you're there, you're going to pick up the instrument you're going to sample, and you're just going to hit it, and you're going to see where that goes. On this screen, it just went to -6, so that's good. That's a good volume. When it gets close to 0, you got to be careful. You don't want it to distort. Now, you can always normalize the sample. I'll show you how to do that. But I do not usually normalize my samples, especially percussion samples. They tend to distort. So it's not a tool I use too much with the sampling. I just try to get the best levels I can. It's called signal to noise ratio. You want as much signal and least amount of noise. That's why I'm using the preamp, and that's why I set my levels the way they are. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to hit standby, and now it's in record mode. Now, if I had my trigger too low when I'm talking here, it would go off, but it's staying on standby. And so when I hit this, you'll see right there that it went into record right away. Because I hit it, it triggered it. All right, that's what you want. So you're not having to press a bunch of buttons. It takes a little getting used to, and every instrument's going to be a little different. If you're doing a snare drum, which is louder, you're going to have to set your input lower. So be prepared to experiment. So normally I'll do groups of instruments like tambourines. I have like 30 tambourines. I'll do them all in one day. All right. Now I'm going to do several different kinds of hits. So that was just a basic finger hit like this. All right. And we'll see. Well, I'll do more in a minute, but we'll see how we edit this now. So after you do the hit, you press Wave Edit on the screen, and you'll see that. And you can hit Preview, and you see that coming from the amp now. Okay, it's going to be soft because the amp's further away. So then you know that you were successful. Then after that, you're going to go over to your app here, and it'll come up. You see on the screen here, sample 1747. I already did, in the last video we did, I did the Hinger Tambourine Hit 1. All right, and it's this wave, and you can check it by hitting Preview. Oops, that's the wrong one. I just clicked my tongue. That's the one we did on the last video, sorry. So in order to get this to show up, all right, what you're going to need to do is hit Save on the machine. All right, so you hit Save, and then hit Execute. You don't have to name it now, and you have to do pad assign now. Don't do that yet. Hit Execute. All right, now it's going to come up here. You got to wait a couple seconds for it to get in there, and it came up. So that's wave 01748. All right, the issue was I didn't name the previous wave I did in the video of me doing this and talking, if you watched that video. So I'm going to name that now. To name it, you hit rename. So you right click it, hit rename, and just basically do it like you'd do any computer thing, and much easier than doing it on the screen. And I'll just call that mouth cluck. Now the only thing about this, I guess that's how you spell it. The only thing about this is it only takes a certain amount of characters, so sometimes you have to abbreviate. Hit OK. It'll come up now as mouth cluck. And then if we want to put it on a pad, we drag it over to the pad, and it'll be here. And oh, you have to be out of here to make it sound, okay? So here, and then you hear me talking, and you hear two things going on, okay? It's pretty cool. All right, so we'll stop that. You just do all sounds off, and you're out of there. All right, so that's how you get it on there. We'll edit that in a minute, actually. That's a good one to edit. We'll get rid of all that talking. We'll just keep the mouth cluck. But let's show you real quick the tambourine thing we just did. So again, we'll go under Wave, first of all. Then we'll go under Wave Edit. Just to make sure you'll have the right thing, hit Preview. And that's my edit, or that's my sound. Now we're going to edit it. Now you see this screen comes up, and you're going to open it up here by hitting that right arrow. And the beauty of it is if I didn't have it on start trigger at a certain level, I would have to basically edit this which we're going to do for the other one, okay? But because I did that, it starts right when you hit it. So there's no editing to be done in the beginning of the sample. The editing needs to be done at the end of the sample. Now with this, you can raise the height and all that stuff. So let's shrink it down here to the end. And you see that there, okay? So we have an endpoint, this dial. I'm going to do this counterclockwise, like that. And you could keep zooming in or zooming out, like that. And if we want the tambourine to be short, we can grab it and we can go like that, okay? And then hit preview. And we want to get rid of all that ring. And even more ring. See what I'm doing there? So if I want a short tambourine note with no head ring, I could literally take that. First of all, we're going to have to make it bigger so I can see what's going on. Oops, making it smaller, sorry. And see how I got that waveform? Take the end and put it right there. And then hit preview. And then it cuts off, okay? All right? So you can make it really short. In this case, I want it to be a little bit longer. So we have that, all right? And that's it, okay? Now you can also loop it over and over. We'll do that in a different sample. We may not do it in this video. We'll do it in another one where we can loop sounds. That's super useful for any sample. So if you have wind or rain, you take a loop point and it goes on forever until you hit all sounds off or a pedal. And you can make it stop. Or you can make it stop with another pad. You got lots of options there. So hopefully that's clear. Let me move these sticks here. Of how that works. All right, you see the waveform. You use these buttons to make it smaller or larger. You hit your start and all that, and you can zoom in and you can make the waveform larger or smaller. You can really get in there. You can hit reset. That ends up being the beginning of where we started if you don't like what you did. Okay, and then preview it again. Good. Now, you can also normalize it like this, but we're not going to do that. We'll do that on another sample, on another video. Again, I don't like normalizing a particular sample for percussion like this because it may distort. So we can also do reverse, and if you hit reverse, you have to override it, okay? So let's do that. Let's hit reverse as new. And it's going to take a minute. It has to process. And this plays the sound backwards, kind of like those old Beatles recordings. All right, they took a lot more effort than this with analog tape and whatnot. And it's going to take a minute to do this. And it says success, and we're there. And it gives you another wave. Hit preview. Isn't that cool? So you can get all those cool backwards snare sounds from the 80s. All that cliche stuff, but there's some really cool stuff you can do. Cymbal swells are awesome like this, so very useful, that reverse. And I made it another sample, okay? And there's my original. Here's my reverse. So it's fun to try and play with this thing, and you can get some amazing sounds. All right, now we want to name these. So we'll go here, and we'll go to Wave 1748. We'll right-click it, and we'll rename it to, let's say, Hinger Tambourine Hit 2. So, okay, hit OK, and it changes. And then we'll name the next one to, we'll call that Reverse Tam, okay? Oops, can't spell. All right, and then you're done there. So then you know what everything is. Now this other helpful thing we have here is called tag assign. All right, you can tag it to a group of these particular things, and you can make others, right? So if you want to do another one, you can make it into a user tag, like I did. All right, so tag assign. You see where it's user tag there? You can change that, and you can rename it. So like Rick's Tambourines. But you could say percussion. I like keeping these all together. So I would tag it as percussion. And then when I look under my percussion groupings here, when I'm searching, so if I go up, it would say percussion under my tags when I scroll all the way over. All right, so there's lots of ways to organize this. That's for another video. That's pretty massive, that whole thing. We'll go over that. Okay, there's going to be lots of videos on this. This thing is, like I keep saying, incredibly deep. So much you have to know. But just know that when right-clicking, you have Wave, Edit, all right, Tag Assign, which we just did, and to rename the sample. Those are very useful. It's kind of intuitive where you right-click if you use a computer a lot, but if you don't, you could spend half your life looking in the manual for this. So I'm just trying to help you out here. All right, so let's go over this one more time, how you do it. All right, first of all, we'll do another sample now. We'll do a thumb roll. So we go into the machine here, the SPD. We hit Menu. We go to Sampling, and we hit Enter. All right. Now, for this sample, since a thumb roll starts soft, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do it manually because we may not have a trigger. So the trigger is good for hits, but not for things that might crescendo. We'll do a crescendo thumb roll. So what I'll do is I'll scroll down to record trigger level, and we'll put it up high. All right, like 10. This way, what I'm going to do is start it manually. All right, so, and then we'll keep everything the same. Then you're going to put it on standby. It's not going to start until you start it. I'm going to pick up the tambourine. I'm going to wet my thumb and do a few test rolls. So I know it's working, right? Then we're going to hit start. Okay, I wasn't talking because I didn't want it to record my voice. We're going to have to edit that, especially the start of it, because I had it on manual. It's kind of manual mode, right? Then what we do on the machine, you hit Wave, Edit. First of all, you can preview it. And you'll hear another one. Okay, so that's what we just did. You see the space before it, so we want to get rid of that. So then hit Wave, Edit, and then hit Save, because Save puts it into the app. So we hit Save, and then don't worry about the pad assign or any of that yet, and hit Execute. And you'll see the screen here. It's processing. Wait about 5 seconds, and you'll scroll down, and it'll come up. Just to check it, hit Preview. It'll do it again. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to start editing it. So you go to Wave Edit, and then you see it here on the screen. All right, just like any kind of waveform editor. Now we have two. Let's see which one I like better. It's one. I like the first one for now because it's got a little bit more of a crescendo. So we're going to get rid of that last one first. So we hit End, and we just do that. Okay? It's gone, theoretically. And we preview it. And now there'll be nothing. Okay? So we did it. All right. Then we want to get our start point. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make the wave bigger. And this is a little bit clunky, but you can move things. But you've got to it's not as easy with a mouse where you can go on the screen as a computer software. But once you get the knack for it, it's easy. Then we're going to drag this over, and we're going to get it really close. Then what you want to do is zoom in closer. All right? And then we want it really close so it starts right away. Now we do a preview. There we go. Okay? Simple. And we have our endpoint already because we did that. Then what we're going to do is we're not going to do it backwards or anything like that. We're not going to normalize it. We're going to close the window. Okay? All right. Now we're going to name it. And we're going to right click to rename. And we're going to call it Hanger Thumb 1. Now I'm going to do lots of thumb rolls. Normally I'll do 10 different samples of a thumb roll. I'm crazy anal retentive like that. So I have everything on a keyboard. It doesn't use hardly any space. And with hard disk space these days, who really cares? It's super cheap. In the old days with a floppy disk, you're always worried about that. But now it doesn't matter. And then I hit OK, and then it'll come up here. All right? And then I'll, once again, choose my tag. So we'll go to tag 1. You can have up to 4 tags. But we'll do tag 1. We'll just put it under percussion for now. That's the grouping. All right? And then we'll assign it to a pad. And to do that, just drag it over to pad 5, and it's there. All right, and then we have our tambourine hit still. So, but I hope that makes sense to everybody. How you do it, it's super easy. I'll be doing some more samples. In fact, I'll do another sampling video and I'll move faster. You may or may not want to watch that with several of these tambourines so you can see how fast it is. And I'll give you some tips. But this is the basics of sampling on this machine. It's fantastic. I love it. It makes life so much easier. It's so fast. It's so easy to name them. You can edit, you can EQ, you can compress, you can do it backwards, whatever you want to do. It's technology in the right way is a miracle for us musicians. So thanks, and we'll see you soon.